So, welcome everyone. Today's topic is really powerful and provocative, as you can see from the image. And we're exploring the intersection between Gnostic cosmology and the modern world, particularly themes of secrecy, power, revelation, and what we might call hidden structures, which are so relevant now, especially if we watch the news. I want to begin with an important framing. Tonight is not about me telling you what to believe about current events. It's about offering a lens, a symbolic, philosophical, and psychological framework that comes from the Gnostic tradition so that you can understand many of the world events happening right now. So, Gnosticism doesn't give us literal answers about politics or world affairs, but it does give us something more subtle, which is a way to perceive patterns, which is what I do through history. So I work in historical revisionism, but I focus in looking at patterns as well. Okay. I'm interested in seeing how history repeats and the threads that unite certain themes and events, a way to question appearances, and a way to awaken discernment. And this is a word that has come up lately a lot for me in sessions and mentorships, discernment. Okay. Uh, and I think for me, it's a key word because it involves practicing the pause in any area of your life. Okay. And taking a moment to see if what you're perceiving, what you're hearing, what you're reading, doesn't it resonate with you? And how does your soul feel about that? When we talk about that knowledge that rises from the bottom up, you know, that's when we start to engage our soul. Okay. And this is important because I believe that our soul is never going to lead us wrong. But we need to listen to it. We really do. We can't just go blindly into things. So discernment is key. So we're not here to fall into fear or paranoia, which is what can happen with some of these things. Okay. We're here to sharpen perception. Okay. I want many ancient traditions, particularly the Abrahamic religions, the world is created by a benevolent, all-loving God. But as we know, Gnosticism offers a radically different view. In texts that we now know, like the Apocryphon of John and the hypostasis of the Archons, we encounter the idea of the Demiurge, a creator figure, okay, who is not the ultimate source of power, but a lower, incomplete being, okay, creates the material world, but based on the versions, creates the material world in ignorance due to Sophia's interaction. There's various myths of Sophia, as you guys know. Okay, so we have this fake or false god, the demiurge, okay, who is based on the Gnostic traditions. He can be a flawed and ignorant god. And if we follow the Sethian tradition, which that's for me the one that resonates the most, and as I said before, the Templars are known as the children of Seth. The Sethian tradition makes the demiurge an evil god, okay? Not just ignorant, but evil. And surrounding him are the Archons. The Archons. And while I keep trying to remind myself that the Archons are not necessarily evil, okay, especially Saturn, in a simple sense, they represent forces of control, limitation, confusion, okay, and a false order. So essentially, they maintain the system that has been created by the false god, okay? This is a system that the Gnostics believed keeps humanity focused outward, okay, rather than inward, preventing it from connecting with its divine spark, as we see, okay? And this is really important because this connects with the idea of discernment that I was talking about before, connecting with your soul, practicing the pause, not getting scared about what you see, what you hear, or believing it immediately, and always checking things out for yourselves. Okay. This system that keeps humanity focused outward, okay, we can see parallels today with it, okay? And this is key in Gnostic insight. The problem isn't just out there, it's also in how we perceive reality, okay? So while there can be, and this is debatable, there can be a false matrix, a false reality. If we're not aware of it, it doesn't really matter because that's all we see as reality. Okay. So again, discernment, the soul is very important here. Okay. Our perception of things. Okay. So the archons in many interpretations act through distraction. Okay. So we could argue that modern distractions like alcohol, drugs, gambling, video gaming, shopping, heaven forbid, shoes, fashion, Instagram, Facebook, social media, all of those things, when people are at home and they're with their partners and they're on their phones, or you go out to lunch like I used to with my dad and he'd be, you know, and he wouldn't even be having a conversation with me. I make it a rule when I'm with somebody for a lunch, for a date, for a coffee, for a meeting, my phone's off. Okay. And if the person has the phone on the table and keeps messing with it, I walk away. Right. For me, that's a very important thing, but it's important to be present with the people that we're with at that moment. Okay. Be it with our kids, be it with, a business meeting, whatever. Okay. For whatever time being it is, you can put away your phones. It is possible, believe it or not, and not everything needs to be on Facebook or Instagram. So, we need to be more present. Okay. That's what I'm trying to get at here with ourselves and with the people in our lives. Okay. Fear or anger. People who start having a bad day, get in the car, have road rage, that kind of thing, or are bitter because they've had a hard life. And fear is another one. These are emotions that the Gnostics perceived that fed the Archons. Do we believe that? Do we not? Well, to a point, okay, to a point. But it all comes down to we have free will at the end of the day, which is, I think, what most people don't realize. And if people are not connecting with themselves and they're distracted and they're living that life where they're not of their phones and not of social media, they are not mentally, spiritually capable of making decisions because they're led like sheep. Okay. It would be your manual of how I'm going to live my day every day when I come across things. Okay. So if I move my little image here, I'll put us here. Okay. And just for a moment. Okay. So this is the Lovers card, which actually represents a marriage of the sun and moon. And it shows a man and a woman, often interpreted as the conscious or unconscious, the feminine and the masculine, the duality. That angel above is that woman clothed in the sun that Blake drew. Okay. Sophia. Okay. The higher guidance, the gnosis. Okay. Notice the number of the card. That is six, like the six-pointed star. So the famously wrongly called Star of David. Okay. The triangle upwards, the male. The triangle downwards, the female. Okay. Conscious, unconscious, divine, earthly. Okay. This card is not about romance, people. This is a moment that represents choice, consciousness, and awakening. Okay. A choice between illusion and truth. All right. Let's go. Let's divide the image into left and right. The left is a feminine path. So where Eve is, and the right is where Adam is, okay? The cloud there, okay? The cloud is the veil that exists, okay? That is veiling truth between illusion, okay? The union of opposites, yes, in psychology is in integration, okay? It's really the Grail quest, what this is, okay? Awakening to awareness. But what I want this card to be for you guys is the moment of seeing clearly. Okay. And how? So let me explain that to you. Okay. It is the world, guys. Okay. So the left-hand path, the feminine path, we see the tree of knowledge. That is what that tree is. It represents awareness, awakening, and the moment of choice. We have a choice when we come with information, when we read something, when we hear it, when we have to make a decision in life. We have a choice. Okay. And that serpent represents the gnosis or knowledge, the impulse to awaken. The tree is about awakening consciousness and the tension between innocence and knowledge. Okay. The moment we begin to see through illusion, that's why the cloud is separating truth of the left hand, the feminine path is truth, and the illusion is on the masculine side, the conscious side. The unconscious is always going to give us the truth, the unconscious. The conscious, not so much. So when we discern, we cannot use the conscious, we need to use our soul. Okay. So the tree with the flames behind Adam, you can count them, there's 12. There should be 12. Okay. This is often interpreted as a tree of life. Okay. And these can signify, and maybe Jimmy wants to add something here, the 12 zodiac signs, okay, the cosmic order and structure, the divine pattern of creation and spiritual energy in its pure unfallen form, okay? In contrast to the tree of knowledge of Eve, this tree represents alignment with the divine order, while the other one represents the risk and the gift of awakening. Awakening comes with a risk. When she gets Adam to awaken, they're kicked out. Okay, they're kicked out of heaven. Okay, so together they create a polarity. The mountain represents the path of ascent, spiritual evolution, and it is actually part of the real Grail quest. The challenge of integration, the journey from dual awareness and unified consciousness. Mountains in esoteric symbolism always point to effort, initiation, and transformation through experience. Okay. That mountain is actually got a name. Okay. Correspond.